Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. This is another video on closures. So in the last JavaScript video I did, basically I showed you how to use functions as closures and how you can basically do cool like object-oriented stuff there. But I mean, closures exist anywhere in a sense. So I mean, it's basically any set of curly brackets is a closure. And which means that if I have a variable in there, const my var equals 5, and I want to access it from here, console.log my var, I'm going to have an issue because the variable is scoped within the closure here, within the curly brackets. Okay. Oh, I'm running the Go thing there. So node functions.js. See, my var is not defined. So you could use the same pattern to access variables you want to declare there. Because maybe I don't want the rest of my code to be able to directly access those variables. Or someone who may be using my code as a library to have direct access to those variables. Okay, so how would I do that? Well, we'll show you a couple different patterns or a couple different possibilities and neat possibilities. So first, using sort of that just random curly bracket style, let's say I have variable values I want to access. And again, basically you always have to use a function. So basically, first we'll make an array const value. We'll say const my vals equals an empty array. Then we'll do the closure. Okay, we're just going to replicate that whole ninja example by making a single ninja or mailman or whatever. Or we'll just recreate myself. So here's name Alex const name equals Alex const age equals 34. Okay, and then if I do this, okay, and then what I can do is I'll push my vals dot push into the array a function that'll let me access this. So what I can do is push in there a function, and what the function will do is it will console.log name and age. So now I can do this. My vals, now that I have that function in my array, and my array was declared outside of the closure, so it's got scope. So I'm pushing it into this collection that has the right scope, and now I can do this. Save, and then actually I have to invoke that function. Okay, so the function's inside the first index of the array, and I'm invoking the function, so the two parentheses, and that should see. And now I can console log Alex34, even though I'm outside of the two curly brackets, because the function was created within the curly brackets, so it has the scope access to those variables. That's neat. Now, how often you may want to use that is a different story, but imagine this. Imagine that this is actually a while loop, or actually a for loop. So we'll say for, for I equals 0, as long as I is less than 5, and then we'll do it for 5. I mean, each time we'll add 1, so it'll loop 5 times. Okay, so it'll basically push 5 versions of this function into that myvals array, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the age I, so that way you can see that's different. And then watch what happens. What I'll do is then I'll use another for loop for, and technically again this variable is going to constantly be changed and it's supposed to only be scoped within the curly brackets. But since I'm making this function before I'm done with the loop and pushing it inside to this array, now I can do this. So for val or funcs in my vals, so for every function in my values, we're just gonna run the function funcs. Okay, and that should just keep doing like Alex1, Alex2, Alex3, Alex4, and that should all work. Even though technically we declared those values within this whole separate section of the code where I should not have scope or access to that data. Funcs is not a function. Let me think about that for every funcs in my vals. So each time we're pushing a function that looks like that. So it should be a function. Why isn't it funcs? My vals. Let's do this. Console.log my vals. Let's see what it looks like after the loop. Okay, yep, so there's 5 functions in there. That's what I expected. Okay. So then I should be able to we'll just say vals in my vals. Okay. Take vals, run the function. Vals is not a function. Okay, here's what I'm going to do instead. We'll just do this as a traditional for loop. I equals 0. Colon. I is less than 5 again. And then we'll just increment each time. And instead we're just going to do my vals I, and then invoke the function in that index. Okay, and then that should get me the result that I wanted, unless there's something I'm completely missing. Okay, so there, see, that worked. So you see Alex0, Alex1, Alex2, Alex3, Alex4. So you notice that each function actually refers to that instance, that loop. So that data now exists and is accessible every time. And I can use it to generate like a fleet of ninjas if I wanted to, or to generate whatever. Okay, and again, that data is only accessible by that variable or by that function. And you know, you can have that function do more interesting things, but it's a neat thing. What else could we do this with? We could do this with an if. Okay, but the idea is any kind of curly brackets in JavaScript acts as a closure, and then you have access to this whole closure pattern, which was sort of my grander point. And again, it doesn't even have to be an if, a function, or a loop. It could literally just be curly brackets. So it allows you to decide, hey, do I want to hide certain variables and have them only be used by these particular functions? You can just use closures to do that, even if it's not in necessarily the context of a class or something. This might be some other situation where you're trying to hide certain properties. You can just use closures to hide the properties and then create some functions that make those properties available. So we'll just say, hey, you know, my var, it's 5, and I want to keep it hidden. So the only way to get it would be through like a setter function. So we'll say my getter. Well, I have to store those somewhere. So we'll say my tools, const my tools equals an empty object. So that way that object has global scope. But then what I'll do is I'll put a getter in there. So we'll say const my tools dot getter equals a function that does this. Console.logs my var. And my tools dot setter equal num, and it just allows my var to be set to num. Cool. And then now I should be able to first use my tools And actually what I can do afterwards is I can then destructure it. So I can be like const getter setter equals my tools. So that way now they become standalone variables. Because why not? That just is neater. So now I can be like getter setter 10 getter, and let's see if that works. Save. My tools is not an iterable. Where am I still iterating over it? I don't remember. My tools dot setter. Oh no, it's not a array. I need to do object structuring because my brain's just not thinking. And there you go. See 5. So I'm able to get the function, get it, the number. I'm able to change the number and get the number as standalone functions, but I still cannot console log the actual number manually. Console.log my var. That will still give me an error. So I've now hidden my var away from the rest of my code. Let me think about that. Oh, because I didn't. If I did this, let my var, then we'll have that issue. Save. So first, let's comment this out. The reason is I think it assumes var if I don't specify, which would give it global scope in just a set of curly brackets. Okay, so that still works, and then this should not. So yeah, uncomment that out. Try this again. And there you go. My var is not defined. Because the minute the block's over. Now again, I could make this easy for myself and just make it var, and then technically the variables. But the idea is I want to hide the variable. I want to give the variable limited access. The only access I want is through those functions I created. So I did that. So closures can allow you to hide stuff if you need to hide stuff for whatever reason. So that's cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, found that interesting. My name's Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, where I'm always posting cool code stuff. It's always Alex Merced Coder. That's the username. Have a great one. Ciao.